Hey Josh, can you hear me okay? Oh, for some reason I can't hear you. Are you muted by any chance? You can hear me, right? Well, here, let's glad we got that, sorted out. Yeah, so today's a marketing focused. I try to have a healthy balance between marketing, sales, mindset, and sometimes even clinical. And then the fifth one is that we kind of have a call on is either Q&A or some operational flow, like I like to refer to it as, just making sure that our office systems are running as smooth as possible. Just want to give a shout out to Shay, who I just had a wonderful conversation with, and has become quite a regular when it comes to bringing some really, really good questions on his weekly call. And so that's kind of where I got a little bit of the material for today's call is, in essence, it all comes back to our marketing. Um, I, I, I don't know how many times I can reverse engineer a problem in a private practice owner's business back to a marketing solution. I mean, it's my default now. I hate to say it. Sales is my second, but marketing is predominantly my go-to. And today, what Shay and I were talking about was lagging versus leading metrics. And it was actually a timely conversation because another marketer sent out an email this week that was describing trailing metrics. And I refer to them as lagging, and trailing is very similar. But it's basically if you look back on last week's metrics and you're trying to act today to improve last week's metrics for this week, you're always going to be looking backwards rather than like the outcomes from last week should almost be irrelevant because it's behind us. And if we were struggling last week, then why do we want to do just a little bit better than struggling this week? So those are looking at lagging metrics. Whereas what I try to advise people to look at is leading metrics. Where do we want this business to go? And so when you sit down, hopefully once a year, which you and I talked about this, Josh, about an annual plan, when you sit down and you actually decide, where in the world do I want to take this business? That's where you decide what happens throughout each quarter and each month and each operational week, where you're leading your people and you're leading your metrics and you're leading your data within your business towards something bigger than just, where did all of our patients go? Because that's looking at things that you didn't do 3 weeks ago to get patients on the schedule. And I don't want to look at it from a lagging perspective. I want to look at it from a leading perspective. And so many offices look at how thin their schedule is. Like today's Wednesday, they're looking at how thin their schedule is next week, thinking, oh, we got to get the patients that are on the schedule this week on the schedule next week. We got to get them all on there. And the reality is people like travel, people have sporting events, they have other commitments out. Believe it or not, they have commitments to their life outside of your office. Like, believe it or not, it's not a priority for them to book an appointment next week, even if they have if they have one, or they usually come on Wednesdays. They're like, hey, I'm still going to go on that vacation, regardless of your numbers. I'm still going to go on that vacation. And there's a time and a place to look back on the numbers. Yes. However, I really do want to encourage you guys to look forward, look at your plans, stick to your marketing plans each week, each month, and each quarter. And you won't have to worry about if someone leaves your office for a weekly vacation, your numbers aren't ruined because you have new people coming in the door. I think a lot of times we get focused on how we have a good day or we have a good week, or we have a bad day or we have a bad week, rather than actually taking a step back and going, we had a very good quarter, or maybe we didn't have an ideal quarter. But either way, we learn something, we can refine our process, we can refine our marketing message. And I think if I'm critical of even myself, so this is speaking a little bit into the mirror here, I think if we're honest with ourselves, the thing that we actually want within our business is about 15% more effort in the right direction. The thing that we want is on the other side of 15% more effort. Like, we're so close to what we want. If we just put just a little bit more effort into our marketing, I think it's 15% more marketing. And that might just be one more workshop a month. It might be one in-house community event that you host. It might be sponsoring some table where you just get out into your community. It might be you do your own webinar or you do a health talk. It's something once per month that might just be the difference. I don't think it might just be, it will be your difference between, are we 80% of our ideal new patients this month, or are we 90, or are we 110%? I think that that's a good leading metric, is in the outputs that you're putting in for your business. So this is actually kind of where the conversation went, because we wanted to look at the marketing message and we wanted to find the ideal clientele, like we talk about in the Innovator program. But we also want to just make sure that we're not going to a community event that doesn't even fit with our style of practice, or it doesn't fit with like the messaging isn't going to be congruent. So I gave the example with Shay that was like, if your ideal client is a 55-year-old retired financial analyst and his hobby is boating, right? Well, don't go to a parent-teacher conference because he doesn't have kids in school and his wife isn't there. I mean, maybe it's his second wife, I don't know, but you're not finding your ideal client when you go to the parent-teacher conference. You're not going to, think of the Chamber of Commerce. Maybe there's one of them there. I don't know. But it would be better to go visit the local yacht club. It would be better to go actually to where this guy has his boat and just look around and see what community is around here. Could you just put a table right by the dock and put a little Vistaprint banner that's $100, roll it out, put a sign up there that says, "Love your boat, but have a bad back"? My goodness, people would come up to you. Like, I just came up with this on the spot. Go to where the person is that you like to work with and have a marketing message that resonates with them. I don't think it's that hard. I think it does take courage. And I think it does take that a little audacity to go, I really enjoy talking with Mike, the boater, who's 55 and who's got this back pain or hip pain or neck pain. And I'm going to go to where him and his buddies hang out. I would much rather look like a fool down by the dock, knowing that I can help these people, than look like a fool sitting at a farmer's market for 6 hours, standing next to the bakery, standing next to the lady who's making jewelry from beads, and thinking to myself, why am I here? Nobody is coming up to my table. Doesn't matter if I'm giving away free massages or free adjustments. No one's coming to my table and thinking, yeah, this is my new chiropractor. They're not there at the farmer's market to find a new chiropractor. I hate to tell you that. Nobody wakes up and thinks, I'm going to go to the farmer's market and I'm going to come home with a new chiropractor. They don't. They go for the bakery. They go for the goods. They go for the fresh produce, right? I mean, at least I do. But I think that a lot of times we have opportunities to go to our ideal clientele's community. And I think we're a bit hesitant to do that because it's outside of conventional marketing norms. And I would say I would lean into it, right? That's why I was very comfortable going into schools, talking to athletic trainers, because athletes between 14 and 22 were about 60% of my patient base for 5 years in a row. So I went to where they were. I went to the school. If you like working with athletes, this is a question I like asking at seminars. You like working with athletes? Okay, what ages? Oh, college. Okay, so 18 to 22-year-olds. When was the last time you stepped foot on a college? And not to watch a football game, not to go to a basketball game and support. I mean, when did you walk into the athletic training room and have a conversation with the AT? When did you meet the team surgeon? When did you meet the athletic director? When did you actually meet and talk to some of the players? And there's never well, I did it 3 weeks ago. It's always well, when they come into the office for care. No, that's an input. That's when they come to you. That's different. I was very willing, and I still am willing, to sit in a sandbox and get along with any other provider any given day of the week, because I know we're all there to serve our patients and to serve the athletes. That does not mean that that I get a patient, so therefore they lose one. I don't view it like that. So when I went in with that mindset and I thought, how can I help you? And the athletic trainer, I'll tell you, if you want to get plugged in with an athletic trainer, here's how to communicate. I know that you're overworked. I know that you have 100 athletes that you have to oversee. How can I help? How can I help you? You don't have to pay me. Do you need an extra hand? Do you need a second set of eyes? How can I help you? I know you're working 80-hour weeks, especially during football season. How can I help? Are there any cases you need a second set of eyes on? I'm here. I'm just here to help. And you almost play a little bit of the ego game with them, and you let them know how hard they're working. Athletic trainers love to know that you know that they worked 80 hours this week, right? It's a different mindset when it comes to work entirely for athletic trainers. They like to know that you know that they worked 60 to 80 hours this week, and they value the quality of their work in the quantity of the hours they work. And you and I, and in the healthcare world, like, we don't actually think that way. We think our value is in the outcomes that we produce, or the outcomes that we achieve with patients. And I'll work 100 hours a week if that's what it takes. I'll also work 5. And if I get the same outcomes, great. Like, I'm satisfied with that. So athletic trainers like to know that they're working hard, that you observe and you're aware of how hard they're working, and that you're also there as a security blanket. If they have a back or a spine case, always offer, a second opinion or a second set of eyes, because they want to know that they didn't miss something. And athletic trainers are very apprehensive when it comes to spine related things. So they typically just refer spine stuff out, typically, I should say. So I got a very good reputation in our county by all of the local schools, because I had a relationship with the athletic trainer, and they started referring just spine. Then they started referring post-op stuff, because we do post-operative care. So there's something to be said about going to where, like, that was my marketing message. My marketing message was, go to where the athletes are, and go to where the athletes present themselves as injured, and offer to help the person that is the gatekeeper towards their care, right? And I always followed up. Every single time I got a referral, I always called the referral and said, hey, I just saw Lisa Smith. She's a volleyball player. She told me that you sent her. So first of all, I just want to say thank you. Do you got a couple minutes that I can go through my exam, and I can fill you in on basically her initial report? So I'm filling them in. And then I do write a handwritten thank you card, and I put it in the mail the day that I saw the new athlete, and I mail it to him right away. Hey, thanks. I appreciate the referral. It means the absolute world to me. Enjoy the next cup of coffee on me, right? As a token of my appreciation, enjoy the next cup of coffee on me. And I mail it same day, right? I sign it, it's handwritten, and I mail it the same day. And that, again, that just builds trust, and it builds mutual respect in the relationship. And I still do that to this day. One client in the mastermind referred another person just for a discovery call. Wasn't that he became a client of mine, but just for referring a buddy of his who's another private practice owner, I sent a little token of my appreciation in the mail. Now, it wasn't handwritten, but it was a 21 and older gift. So he did have to sign for it at the door, if that makes any sense. So you can't just mail bottles of alcohol anymore. I guess you have to actually be able to, sign it that it's, whatever. But it was simply a token of my appreciation. He thought that a friend of his that's running a clinic would be a good fit for the way that I coach. I don't know yet if this guy's going to be a client. Maybe down the road he will be. Maybe he will be next week. I don't know. But the point is, I'm building a culture of referrals simply by expressing my gratitude with the people I've already got. And I did the same thing in the clinic. I still do. My staff still send out thank you cards once a month. They do it once a month. I did it the day that I saw them on their initial exam. And that's a part of my marketing plan. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be super sophisticated. These old school marketing tactics work. They really do, because they're feel good. Everyone likes to get something in the mail that's not a marketing piece, that looks like, there's some lawsuit that they could sign up on a class action, or there's some gutter service that's coming to your area. There's painting, there's windows. I don't know how many things I've gotten for new windows in my area over the last 2 years. But if they were to get something handwritten on an envelope, just like around Christmas time when you start to get, the Christmas cards in the mail where you get to see family photos and whatnot, like there's a certain buzz when you see your name handwritten on an envelope. There is a buzz about it. So when you open it up, it's feel good. It's this person took time out of their day to write me a note. And I mean it, right? Like I'm not faking it. It's not phony appreciation. It's genuine. And that's marketing. I don't know what to tell you. It's marketing. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, if we could get about 10 to 15 more percent of effort into our marketing, then that leads us to the next conversation, which is, then we probably need to be honest with ourselves on the accuracy of our conversions. So if I were to look at your financial dashboard, or if I were to look at your conversions, could your conversions be improved based upon your marketing messaging? Or do we need to actually have some training and some guidance on how to overcome some objections that we commonly hear in practice? If that's the case, then your marketing still needs to improve, because your marketing should get rid of about 9 out of 10 objections. That's kind of step number 1. But every once in a while, things make their way into your office and you still have to convert them. So what steps to conversion can we talk about? And that's, maybe that'll be on a good sales call, or if we want to, we can kind of, we can turn this into a sales call if you want. But I think knowing your conversion number would be the next order of business. And industry average, I know this because there's been several people that worked at major, we'll call them corporations. They've invested into consumer reports on not market, but industry averages for chiropractors and sales. We would call them conversions. So when you have a new patient, what percentage convert to a plan of care? Industry average is between 40 and 50%. Now, in my world, that's half of what I do and half of what my team does. My team is at a minimum for the first 90 days of employment, minimum is 70% conversion rate. So if we see 10 new patients a month, that associate is responsible to have a 70% or higher conversion percentage, right? Because I know my marketing is getting people in the door under the right expectations. They just need to get someone to sign on the dotted line, and they can't mess it up, right? Like it's easy to mess it up, but it's quite difficult when your marketing message is as strong as it could be, right? And there are months where our marketing message and our marketing game is real strong, and there are months where it's absent, right? But I think that 40 to 50% conversion is way too low for what we do. And so you should aim for 70 to 90% in that range there. So for us, the first 90 days, our associates in our private practice in Illinois, they need to be at 70% conversion rate. And then the next 90 days, it's 80%. And the next 90 days, it's 90%. And that's that. Then after they get their conversion, then after that, then their utilization is what we look at next. We still look at conversion, but then we look at utilization. So if they could see 30 appointments in a week, what percentage of 30? I just came up with 30. It could be they could see 100 in a week. Like, let's actually do that. If they could see 100 appointments in a week and they're only seeing 50, well, then they're 50% utilized. So that number needs to be 70% utilized within 6 months of working for me. And then 3 months later, it needs to be 80%. And then 3 months later, so within 1 year, they need to be between 80 and 90, 95 is a bit high, but 90% utilized within 1 year. Because I know that my marketing game is strong enough to get people in the door. And if they're converting them, then those numbers coincide with the growth that I expect for their utilization. I don't have those numbers flipped. I don't have them try to get 90% utilized within the first 90 days. That's not a step into the business. That's wishful thinking, right? Like they actually need to have a step-by-step, a methodical step-by-step into how to actually get to 90%. Because the first thing that a good associate would ask you would be, okay, I agree to take this job. You want me to get 90% utilized. How do I get there? And I would just say, here, this is how you do it. These are the percentages I need you to be at. So that was a lot, but that's a good place to start. And that's everything that I've been talking to a couple of people about this week. But that's in essence, it all comes back to your marketing, and you go to where there's fish if you're hungry and you're in need, right? You try not to just go rattle the pond and have the fish all scurry away, right? So thoughts on that, Josh? Any questions, comments, concerns, anything strike a nerve?
I think it makes sense that, starting out with that strong, consistent marketing message, that's really bringing you the people who, you have multiple touch points with, and you're kind of putting information into their world about who you are and what you do. And so they have somewhat of an expectation when, they come into the office and do like a discovery visit or whatever. And it's good to know that they have already seen that information, so you can move on from there. But yeah, it seems like a good process to move forward, but the marketing aspect of it, seems like the first place to really get your message consistent. And then, yeah, going to where your ideal patients are, for sure. I'm almost in my 7th year of practice, so I've gone to a lot of uh, like state fairs and like flea markets and stuff like that, where initially I was just like, I need to get in front of people, but like, you make a good point, as like a lot of people that are going to those events aren't necessarily looking to find a new chiropractor. They're going there for a purpose, which is you know, where I run into people, and it's just like, yeah, it's pretty slow, nobody's coming by, and you're trying to engage, and it's exhausting. And so, yeah, I can relate to that.
Well, I think the other thing about those is I've seen a lot of practice management groups say, well, you just need to get out into your community, right? And get the scales out and show people how bad their backs are. And that's one that's based on fear, and it does work. People, when they're told how screwed up their back is, they will book an appointment because they're afraid of this getting any worse, or like it's noceboic, if I can use that word. It's fear mongering, and that's not our style, right? Like we're not gonna be presenting ourselves as like, oh, this is all doom and gloom, and like you're probably gonna be in a wheelchair by the time you're 60. You have the spine of an 80-year-old and you're 22 years old. It's like, I've never seen a neck this messed up. Like, you really need to book an appointment. Then they show up to the appointment expecting it to be really, really negative and really, really, problematic. And all of a sudden we're like, oh, hey, this is not so bad, because like this will respond really well to what we do here. And it's like Jekyll and Hyde. We just switch personalities just to get them in the door. Like, I actually view that as quite unethical. So I'm not going to switch what type of provider I am simply because I want to convey a message that I don't even stand by. So I have to convey a message that I do stand by, which means I have to go. I can't go where everyone goes, because if fear works at a farmer's market, then I'm not going to the farmer's market. If someone is really worried about their back, and if they can't get under a barbell, well, then I go to where the barbells are. I go to the gym. I go to the sports center. I go to the undergraduate, workout center. I go there, and I don't give out my business card. I just stand there and I'm like, hey, I can help with that. Who are you seeing for this? Are you happy with the results you're getting? Are you open to another option? Did you know that there's another option? Do you know that chiropractors do more than just adjust? And I help people just like you all day, every day. This is what I do. Like, we should talk, like, hey, we don't want this to get any worse, right? I get that. But what if I could help you get peace of mind, so the next time you get under a barbell, you don't have any fear, any concern, any apprehension about, is your back gonna really, you're gonna feel it when you're done? Or if you're like, dang, my back is solid, it's not going anywhere. What if I could give you that confidence? See, now we're not talking about chiropractic care anymore. We're talking about peace of mind and confidence. It's a game changer. I know that's used a lot, but it's It's honest, because that's what you do. That's what I do. That's what the functional rehab model is all about. It's not about rack 'em and crack 'em. It's actually not even about chiropractic care. I hate to say it. The functional rehab model is not about chiropractic care. It's about providers that put confidence and certainty and a plan in front of a patient who is suffering and needs guidance to overcome their current situation. That's it. That's the functional rehab model in a nutshell. How each one of us do that, we have the liberty. I use that word intentionally because liberty is doing what you ought to do. I'll repeat that. Liberty is doing what one ought to do. So when we have the liberty to treat someone via the functional rehab model, then we will do what we should. We will do what is necessary, and we won't do anything less than it, and we won't do anything that's above it. We will do exactly what we ought to do. That's why I like that word, liberty. I really do. Licentiousness is a good word too. That's just having the freedom to do whatever you want. So there's licentious behavior, which is like, there's no rules. It's complete chaos, and you just anything goes, right? We've got to be careful that we don't use the word liberty when we're actually behaving licentiously, if that's a word. But we do have to be careful, not careful, but we do have to be honest with ourselves that when we have the potential to fit a patient into our framework, that we do what we ought to do, which is what's medically necessary and not above or beyond. We go above and beyond for them, but not under treating them, but not over treating them. We do what's necessary. So I know I'm a stickler for detail and I'm a stickler for words, but I think that when someone enters the functional rehab model in business as a provider or as a patient, what they realize is that they didn't know that this other style of chiropractic care even existed. So this is actually to go full circle on my conversation with Shay earlier. We were talking about his numbers, and this is an honest. It was almost arbitrary, but it was almost set in stone. Like his mind was set on a specific percentage of patients call up his office every month, and he said 30% of them he doesn't want to work with because they're looking for rack 'em and crack 'em, high flying, high volume type. What they've been exposed to in the past, they assume that's what he does. And immediately he could say 30% of people that contact me, I don't want to work with. And I go, hold on a second here. You mean to tell me that people that call up your clinic, you don't want to work with them? What basis do you have to make that claim? Like what's behind that? And he's like, that's a fair question. It's just like the things that they say, what they're looking for. And I was like, how do they know that another option even exists? Did you ask them? Are you open to other options? Did you know other options for chiropractic care exist? Most people have anchored, I use that word intentionally, have anchored their view of what a chiropractor does based on their first chiropractor. Most people do not think that anyone does anything different than their first chiropractor. My mother-in-law is a great example of this. She still talks to me about the chiropractor that she saw for the first time when she was 20 or 25. And she does not understand how we practice because it's so different than this other doctor that she met now 50 years ago, right? 45 years ago. I should be nice. 45 years ago. But still, she compares when she comes to our office versus this Dr. Smith, we'll call him Dr. Smith, 45 years ago. And she's like, he would never do this. He would never stretch me like this. As if he's standing like in the other room. Like I better be careful. He might come out and tell me I'm not being a good chiropractor. I don't get it. And she opened my eyes to this thought. And then once I saw it, I realized I observed it everywhere. I would shadow clinics. I would stand in clinics and I would adjust someone and they would go, oh, Dr. Johnson never adjusted me like that. Oh, when was the last time he adjusted you? 1970. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? So we have a percentage that Shay arbitrarily came up with, which was 30%. And I'm going, yeah, but they don't know that there's another choice. Maybe they've done a little bit of research. Maybe they've read your reviews. Maybe they've been to your website. Or maybe they just went to Google and said, chiropractor near me, because they're all the same. They're all the same. Why would I need to look into Shay's or Josh's or Alex's website? Why do I need to go to Vicky's website? I don't need to go. They're all the same. So if we immediately dismiss 30% of the people that are reaching out to us because they're looking for high volume, I think we miss a golden opportunity. And a pastor actually said this, that he used to think that people were the problem, and now we've used people as the opportunity. So now when someone says something that I used to just be able to dismiss and be like, oh, you're just looking for a Rackham and Crackham high volume clinic, here, go to the Joint, or here, go to this family chiropractic center down the road. And don't get me wrong, some people are adamant about that's what they want. But I don't think it's 30%. I would cut that number in half. I would say about 10 to 15% of people, that's what they truly want, which means maybe 15 to 20% of people that call up our offices every month, they actually are open to other options that they didn't know existed. In which case, we have to get information to them so that they can be more informed, because a more informed prospect, I use that word intentionally, a more informed prospect can make a better decision about their health compared to an uninformed one. How do we get information? I'm an information marketer. How do we get information in the hands of a prospect? Well, we either email it to them, it's a digital download, or it's we mail them a little booklet of things. Or if they show up because they want a new patient exam and they've had zero exposure to your marketing, then there's no need to mail them your shock and awe envelope. Just hand it to them. Just hand it to them right there. Instead of giving them the new patient paperwork, just hand them the shock and awe envelope. Just hand them hand them the letter from the CEO that says, hey, congratulations, you've made a great choice. Now, not many people know that there are many different types of chiropractors out there, and you've just made a really wise choice, because at my clinic, this is what we do. And if you're looking for a high volume Rackham and Crackham office, then I'm sorry to tell you that this is not the place for you. But if you are looking for hands-on manual therapy, chiropractic care for 40 to 45 minutes, maybe an hour, comprehensive assessments, unlimited manual therapy based on whatever your needs are, and an individualized treatment plan that matches your goals, this is the place for you. Imagine if you gave someone marketing material rather than your new patient paperwork. And you're like, hey, do me a favor. I'm working on your new patient paperwork. Here's a free gift, a little token of our appreciation for showing up today. Why don't you go ahead and you can just take a look at some of this. This will help streamline today's appointment. All right, here you go. I'll be back in a minute with your new patient paperwork. Just let me print it out real quick, right? Meanwhile, it's already printed out. It's already ready to go. And then let them read a booklet of testimonials. Let them read them. We have a postcard at our office that says 5 reasons why we're different. And it basically outlines the differences between the straight, philosophic, vitalistic chiropractic clinics and our functional rehab model. We don't throw anyone under the bus, but it's just mapping out how and why we're different. Then the last thing we give them is a note card that says day of appointment. I forget if it says expectations or just like it's what to expect at your first appointment. And it's basically like a little story about what they should wear. Because again, hopefully they're getting this card in the mail, a few days before their appointment. So it says what you can expect your doctor to do, what you can expect the staff to do, what you should wear, where you should park. But it's all just information to help them feel comfortable and informed about their next business, not next business, but their next health decision as it relates to our business. And that's marketing. That's getting them information to make a choice. But they need to know that there are choices available. Otherwise, if you expect them to just come in and leave your office, they will. But if they don't know that another option exists, then it's your job to let them know that other options do exist. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I oftentimes, ask people when they first come in, like, have you seen a chiropractor before? And they're like, well, yeah, or if they don't, then they tell me some story about what they heard from a friend and their experience with a chiropractor. And usually it's along the lines of, some people had a good experience, some people didn't, but it's You're in, you're out. It's a quick visit, and just a high volume clinic. And so I don't really that doesn't really resonate with me, as far as how I want to practice or how I want to take care of my patients. So um, but yeah, making them aware of the fact that something else is, an option, and that it's not your typical in and out high volume clinic, opens people's eyes, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, don't write them off if they don't know that there's another option.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. It's sometimes in sales we call it the hidden offer, where like we just can't convert someone. So like let's just bring this thing out at the very last second to be like, well, actually, I've got this other thing, right? And like most people would have already chosen, option A or B. But at the very end, you can bring out a hidden offer that's like, well, actually, I've got option C, but like don't tell anyone about it, right? That's called a hidden offer. This is a little bit different because they don't even know that B exists. They're just assuming that everyone only has an A offer. And again, I go back to it that people are, and I wrote this in a Midwest Monday email. Maybe it came out yesterday. Maybe it's coming out this upcoming week. And I hate to say it, but I get paid to observe. And most people are living a life completely oblivious to what's around them, right? We've got these distraction devices that you can look up anything you've ever wanted, like at any point in time in all of history. You can look up and find, I mean, there are ancient scrolls that you can actually see on your phone that were written thousands of years ago. And all I have to do is type into this little device here and find it, right? That just goes to show you the ability that this thing has to distract us from the things that we actually want to work on. But it also means that it also means that people are not aware of their surroundings. People have no idea. If it just says chiropractor, they just assume that we are all the same, and we are not. We are not the same. I'm not saying we're better, and I'm not saying we're worse. We're just different. It's like if I were to ask you which one's your favorite kid, don't answer that. Don't answer that. But it would be like you might have one that you prefer in different phases of life, and maybe some parents do have an absolute favorite. But they're just different. Each one of my 5 kids already, Elias, 2 months old, vastly different than Sloan, who's 5. Vastly different. Different needs, can already tell different mannerisms. So how do we treat our profession as equals when we are not equal? And I don't mean equal in terms of dignity and capacity. We are equal in terms of dignity and capacity because we're all human. We all should be treated with the same amount of dignity and the same amount of humility. Otherwise, I'll lose my sense of humanity if I just started treating people differently. Like I won't do that. But we are not, in terms of capacity, equal. And this comes from the concept of like physical traits. You mean to tell me that Steph Curry is the same, equal as Shaquille O'Neal? No way. They're not the same. They are not the same. They're the same. They should be treated the same in terms of dignity, but they are not the same in terms of capacity. The things that Steph Curry can do, like just blows your mind. The things that Shaquille O'Neal can do just blow your mind, but in a very different capacity, right? And so I think that we should view ourselves differently in terms of capacity. We just do more and we charge more. There's nothing wrong with that. If someone has a problem with doing more and charging more and seeing less patients, well, then they're not a good fit for what I do and the coaching style that I'm trying to communicate with. But I do think that the high volume clinic will always have a people problem. And we could kind of dive into it if you want to finish here, but the high volume clinic is flawed to begin with because of the people, because it has a mentality and a mindset of we are all technicians. Patient comes in, I adjust, they leave. And it doesn't matter if you're a skilled clinician or not. It's get them in, get them out. every single practice management group that coaches a high volume clinic, the number one solution that they have for the owner to justify their practice management expense is your doctors are spending too much time with the patient. You need to see them in less time. Your doctor's talking too much. They're having too much. We have too many patients on the schedule. We're getting behind schedule. Your doctor's spending too much time. So then I flipped it and I said, well, what's considered too much time? And what if I doubled it? Or what if I tripled it? Or what if I quadrupled it? So I have seen someone for 90 minutes and actually bled over close to like an hour and 45, close to 2 hours. When was the last time that a chiropractor ever thought that they could charge $600 for 90 minutes? Now, the value that someone was willing to pay me for was more than $600. Would they like to sign up at a high volume clinic and get treated 3 times a week for 4 months, and then 2 times a week for the next 4 months, and then 1 time a week for the next 4 months? That's a year. And then once a month for the rest of their life. Would they like to spend, I don't know, $3,000 on that? Or would they like to spend 600 and to learn more about their body than they could possibly learn in a year at a high volume clinic? That's how I position it. So if you want, go to a high volume clinic. If you want to learn about your body, you come to me. But I'll give you everything that I have. I will teach you everything that I know in the 90 minutes, but then you go off and you got to do it. And I'm finding that more and more people are tired of getting the same kind of dog and pony show at high volume clinics, where they go in, they see the x-ray, and you know the rest of the story. I'm a little unhinged today, maybe a little unfiltered. I hope that's okay. I'm going to get I know I'm going to get some feedback on today, especially as soon as this goes up on YouTube. I'm going to get some feedback for today. I already got some text messages about the BFR one I did a couple of weeks ago. And you know what, it's good feedback for me, but it's like I'm starting to get a little bit more, we'll just say, bold, putting some stuff out there that have just been going on in private conversations that now it's like, no, it's coming out. This information needs to get out there. And I think people like you, Josh, and you know, Ryan, JC, Colton, like all of the guys I've had these conversations with recently, like I think that we are slowly becoming a more and more popular style of practice. We definitely are more and more popular. I mean, 10 years ago, I think it was less than 10% of clinics were movement-based, you know, functional rehab chiros. And now I think that number is close to 25%. So in 10 years, we're really making a splash into the industry. So I'm practicing what I preach here. I'm talking to the 25% of chiropractors that are movement-based, evidence-based, functional rehab-oriented chiros. I'm not talking to the 75% high-volume clinics. And I'm okay with that. So there might be 75% of people listening to this that are like, he's off his rocker. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'm okay with that. And I shared a story when I was teaching. I spoke at the Florida. Well, maybe I was maybe going to be a little bit more polite, but I spoke for the Florida Chiropractic Association a couple years ago. I stood in front of the room, 350 people in the room. They hand me a microphone and they're like, talk about functional rehab. And I was like, okay, great. You know, so I did, but I already knew anywhere from 10 to 25% of the people in the room do not care what I have to say. Sorry, let me flip that. 10 to 25% of the people in the room were interested in what I had to say, which meant 75 to 90% of the people out of the 350 had no interest in what I had to say. But I wasn't there for them. I was there for the 10 to 25% that were interested in what I had to say. So I could look past all the weird looks I was getting, all the weird nods that I was getting when I was talking about the functional rehab model and treating patients and spending time with them and, you know, addressing their short and long-term. Like I just went through the functional rehab model. People were getting out and walking out and stretching their legs and scrolling on their phones. Great. Because you're telling me something about yourself and I'm not going to market to you. You're not my target audience. Now, a strange thing happened after that talk. 350 people in the room. I counted them. 15 people came up to me afterwards wanted to learn more. 15. A lot of those guys are on our email list, have attended a lot of our seminars, and the return on investment for me, see, this is those conference talks, those were marketing for me. I didn't get paid to go there. I didn't get reimbursed my travel. I paid to get those leads into my business. I flew down, I got a hotel, I spoke again, I got leads. Those leads signed up for courses, $1,000 a pop. Those 15 people that came up to me, all of them have attended an average of 3.5 classes with me since I did that 3 years ago. I got more from less. It was absolutely worth my time to go down and to meet those 15 people. And when dry needling, rules change in the state of Florida, and there's actually a ruling about it, Midwest is going to be the first company that gets called in and gets contracted with the state association to put on dry needling in Florida. It's going to happen. In which case, the return on investment of me making a relationship with the FCA it was absolutely worthwhile. But that was a marketing effort. That was nothing other than effort. My wife was like, "Why are you going to Jacksonville? Why are you going to Destin?" I went 4 times in a year. And I was like, "It's coming. It's gonna bear fruit. It's coming." And that will bear fruit. That will bear fruit. I mean, it already has in some sense. But that's the extra 10 to 15% that I'm talking about. And it's not just me. It's a good reminder for myself that there are areas of my marketing and my sales that I need to step into, especially for Midwest and especially for the clinic. All right. I think that's a good place to end. I think that's a good, full loop there. Started with marketing, went into some things, came back with marketing and effort. I think it's 10 to 15%. And this is what we'll talk about for day 2, which we'll discuss annual planning. Day 2 in the business course at the beginning of December 2nd and 3rd. I'm working on the agenda and the itinerary about what we're going to talk about. But day 2 is going to be heavily about annual planning so that we can actually market leading forward as opposed to we do look back, to start our planning, we do look back, but how can we have some leading measures that we want to race after? And that is a part of our annual planning. So if you're interested in our Essentials of Business Masterclass, that will take place December 2nd and 3rd in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Shoot me an email or a text or a DM, and we will reserve you a seat. There is 1 seat left, believe it or not. I've just started putting information out there, and there is 1 seat remaining. So maybe we'll open it up. I don't know. We will see. I like the fact that we're at, I think 20, I think the room I think can take 22 people. So I think we're at 21 right now with some people still on the fence. So if you're on the fence, don't hesitate. Message me as quickly as possible to reserve your seat. Josh, any key takeaways for today?
It was good, consistent message, kind of getting into the marketing and bringing it full circle. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts in there, but yeah, there's not a lot of functional rehab chiropractors out there, but I do agree that, people are realizing that, that there's something else out there, and some of them, depending on your ideal patient, want to take more of an active role in their treatment plan and rehab. So it's a good way to have a team approach to it. Like I can help you and kind of guide you, but yeah, you're part of it. You're accountable too. So, but yeah.
That's right. Well, thanks, Josh, and thanks for everyone that watches the replay here. And we'll have some more people on the call in the coming weeks. I think people are still trying to rearrange their schedule. Wednesdays are a big treatment day, so I understand that. And I've got, probably about a 10 or 12 people that every week message me, whether it's on Instagram or it's just personally, they text me about the cohort calls that they get a lot out of it. So I do ask for, takeaways. What are things that people get from watching the replay? And, so I do appreciate you, Josh, for being very consistent on the calls. And there are, like, I can see the views, I can see the data come out after I publish it, that a lot of people still watch these, and I'm debating. Let me ask you this, Josh, and maybe people can respond to it. Should I be putting these videos on? Well, they do go on YouTube, and I shared the link, but should I be putting them up on our podcast? Like, you think I should be sharing them as podcast episodes?
Maybe you would reach a different audience, I guess, if you did that, but or more of an audience, but yeah.
Because I'm a driver, and I listen to podcasts while I drive, and I'm thinking to myself, if other people on their morning commute who missed the cohort call, and it's included in some memberships and some purchase, upsells that we offer, like, I'll just put it out there for free. Just put these things out there that we talk about, to gain valuable insight before people even become customers of mine. That's like give, keep giving, and then ask. That's kind of one of my models that I've framed after Hormozy. So it's just thinking out loud here. You don't have to answer that. You don't have to solve my problem.
Well, I mean, I agree. Like, I do commute, and so there's like 35. Sometimes last night there was a wreck. It was an hour where I'm just like, jamming content, and so it's like sometimes I'm switching it up, but a lot of it is like relevant to my world, right? So yeah, I think that would be a good move.
Awesome. Well, I'll give you the credit for it, but we'll stop there. And we'll see you at same time next week. I'm sure I'll be buzzing. I will be in Nashville this weekend teaching dry needling. At the same time, Dr. Gary Eastad will be teaching dry needling part 2 in, I never know how to say this. We'll just call it Milwaukee.
Oconomowoc.
What? God bless you, right? Like Oconomowoc. Hey, there you go. Did I say that right? Oconomowoc. I don't know how to text it though. I was texting somebody else up in Wisconsin. Like they see my name on the WCA website. I'm like, I'm not the one that's teaching it. Gary's teaching it in, I think I added like 5 extra ONs like in there. Oconomowoc. Like I just kept going to have fun with it. But I was like, I don't know how to text this city name, but yeah, it's in the Milwaukee area. So we'll have some we call them after action debriefs after things that pop up in the course. I'll probably be reeling. I'll have some things to share with you guys after the courses. So I appreciate you, Josh. And the replay will be out very soon. I got a free afternoon here, so I will make sure to knock out the tech side to get this published quickly. So thank you so much, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks.
All right, thanks.